Now, Positively Ernie with Ernie Anastos, a New York TV legend and radio host with great positive stories and interviews.
Thanks, Ernie. You're the best.
And now, here's Ernie.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am following stories in the news with a positive spin, what people are talking about. And I've got something very special for you today. I want you to meet a very dear friend. I mean, everybody knows his name, and they certainly know his face because he's a really genuine individual. This is Joseph Abboud, my buddy. Good to see you, Joseph.
Ernie,
Such a good pet. Oh, my God.
Here.
You are
Thank
amazing.
You. But I must say, I've been a fan for more years than we want to admit. You've been such an incredible talent, so thank you for having me.
Well,
today.
thank you, but we go back a long way,
Yeah,
Joseph.
yeah.
We go back to the Boston days.
Amazing.
You know, I mean, I interviewed you, man, it was like 1968, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry,
No,
take it back. It was 77.
77, I think it was.
77, exactly.
Yeah.
And you were at Louis in Boston.
Yeah.
Young guy,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget talking to you, and I'm saying later on, look, my friend Joseph, what he's done with his life. I'm so proud of you.
Well, I have to tell you about that. And I'm doing your show.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, I have never forgotten my very first TV interview, and I was nervous as hell, was with Ernie Anastos.
Oh, man.
And I remember my boss saying, they're coming from, I believe, Providence.
I was in Providence.
And we're going to do it on the second floor, and we want you to talk about style.
Yeah.
And I was in my 20s, and I was so in awe of you. And I can't believe that we're actually sitting here
Can you
today.
believe it?
No, and that's what I love about life
Yeah.
is how full circle it is. And I have never forgotten it. Your voice from that day to this is exactly the same.
Thank you, Joseph.
And I didn't even know if you would have remembered that when I texted you.
Of course.
But
I
I
remember.
have never forgotten that.
You know what? I was anchoring the news in Providence, Rhode
Yeah.
Island, and I was doing a feature story on the masculine mystique.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I did some research, and up comes Joseph Abboud, and I'm saying, this is great. But you know what? We talked a little bit before we went on.
Sure.
And you know what? It's all about our roots. And you are such a family man.
Thank you.
I mean, you grew up in such a wonderful environment. I want you to talk about your father, Joseph,
Yeah.
and your mother, Lila,
Yeah.
and the experience that you had growing up as a child and how you became who you are.
Well, it's interesting because when people say, how did you get where you are today? I always say I have no idea. Because I think on a serious note, it was through what my parents instilled in me. My dad was injured at a very early age, and my mom had to have two jobs. And what my father and mother always said to me is, you have to give to get. You have to go out, you have to work, you have to earn it, and be respectful and keep your shoes shined. And they instilled in me, as so many Americans,
Values.
like your family,
Yes.
values that I try to pass on to my children.
Yeah, you've done
because,
that.
well, I certainly, as parents, we always hope we do that. But that has stayed with me from the time they've said it. And my mom having two jobs, my dad being bedridden so often.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so much part of his life. And he was a diehard Red Sox fan.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
as you are.
as I am,
Yeah.
and full disclosure,
Yeah.
but those things die hard. Meaning, I will always love that team because I remember sitting on my porch on a moonlit night with my dad's arm around me and
Yeah.
listening to Red Sox
how
games.
great is
And
that?
you never forget
No,
that.
you know, it's part of your childhood.
It is.
It's your life.
It sounds so simple,
Yeah.
but it had such an impact on my
And
life.
even though, you've spent your life in New York
Yeah.
and have raised your children
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
but
yeah.
still, and people would understand that and say, you know what, he was a kid. He wore the baseball hat and
Yeah.
he had a team.
Yeah.
But, let me talk about your parents a little bit. Your parents instilled in you so many wonderful qualities. And your mom was also a seamstress, and I wondered, did she influence you at all when it came to fashion and design? You're such a giant.
I don't know if you know this, but
Yeah.
I actually have a teaching degree in English and French comparative literature.
Nice.
I wanted to teach.
Ah.
I was fortunate enough to take my junior year abroad through the University of Massachusetts.
Okay.
And it was in Paris. And so when I tell people I went to school in Paris, they think it was for draping and fashion design, but it was for
Sorbonne.
It was the Sorbonne.
Absolutely.
And but I saw something, Ernie, that I never saw in Boston. I saw a style of life of the cafe societies, of people well dressed. And one story in particular, I was on the metro. So I grew up on the MTA, Charlie of the MTA,
Oh, yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah.
I'm at the metro stop, and the door opens, and a man in a tuxedo and a woman in a gown walks into the metro.
Really?
And I said, I don't know what world this is, but I want to live in this
Isn't
world.
that amazing?
And I really think that was, when I saw the glamour and style of everyday
that
life.
image stood out.
It just, I will never forget that.
Yeah, it brought you somewhere.
So when I came back and graduated, instead of going on to graduate school, or I was actually offered a job to teach French at Brookline High School.
Wow.
But Louis of Boston, the store that you know so well.
Very well-known store,
asked me to stay on because I had been there for 4 years part-time and to be part of their management program. And I thought, I can always go back to graduate school, but let me try business and to travel the world.
But don't you also believe that there's a plan here? I mean, you know, you've got gifts. Everybody has a gift.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure that we use that gift in a positive way. And you've done that. So, you know, you've influenced so many people. By the way, before I forget, I watch Seinfeld a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an episode on there.
That's right, about the Joseph Abboud blazer.
Right, exactly.
That's very funny.
Jerry's in there.
So I'm part of pop culture history, I guess.
I love it. I love it. I mean, all of a sudden, this is Joseph Abboud. But look, you've done so many things. You worked with Ralph Lauren. You went off on your own, developed a lot of things. I want to just talk a little bit about style. You're coming up with something new as well.
Yeah.
Is it Spiritus? Is that what it's
called? Yeah, Spiritus.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because I've looked at the fashion landscape.
Yeah.
And the world has changed dramatically and drastically through COVID. The way people dress codes. You're dressed beautifully today. I wish men would dress more like you.
I like dressing.
No, and I think it's a sign of respect to other people. I really believe dressing well at the right occasions. But I thought I wanted to create a more spiritual collection of smaller, one-of-a-kind pieces. I don't need the glamour. I don't need the publicity. It's more for me to continue my craft.
Sure.
And
it's your passion.
It's my
what you
passion.
love.
And one article, the last line was, you know, they asked me, will I retire? And I said, you retire from what you do, but you don't retire from who you are.
Exactly.
And that's who I think we are.
You never retire from life.
You don't retire from who you are.
Exactly.
And my passion is the creative spirit.
Yes.
Is creative passions.
So what's this new line going to be all about,
So
Joseph?
I really feel I love authentic fabrics and natural fabrics like cashmere and wool and cotton.
Like what you're wearing right now.
Right, well, more pure.
Yes.
And I believe those are fabrics that God gave us from the earth.
Yeah.
He gave us those.
Yes.
We've created all these synthetics. Okay, they serve a purpose sometimes for performance. But to me, the beauty of our earth, and one collection I had started, which was Joe, was just one earth.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always believed in natural, the natural beauty of gorgeous fabrics.
Absolutely.
That come from Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So
and
that's,
we're going to expect this in 2024?
I hope
fall?
in 2024.
Exactly.
The most important thing, too, Ernie, is to make sure that I am always true to my customer. I don't want to make anything because I have a name or a label.
Right.
The product has to be right.
Of course.
And to me, that's the authenticity of great products.
Let me ask you something, because when you were talking about natural, the earth and so forth,
Yeah.
you also said God. And you're a spiritual person.
Yeah.
We talked about this, not like religious. Sometimes people get turned off by that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But from a spiritual standpoint, you and I are on the same page.
Exactly.
With a lot of other people. Tell me why you feel this way about your life and how it's influenced you as a designer, as a human being, as a father, as a husband, and just being a good guy.
Well, thank you. But spirituality is everything to me. It is really about being fundamentally a good person who cares about other people, especially your family and those close to you. And it isn't about the recognition, but it is about how you feel. And I think in many cases, religion has caused so much conflict. But spirituality is universal.
Yes.
And I think it sort of drives me to look at whatever I'm going to do or who I'm going to be with, how I'm going to spend my time, how I love to be in nature. And I think in nature, I think this is God's fashion show. I could never, Ernie, I could never replicate the colors of nature.
Oh, I know.
I could never. And I always say any designer who thinks they can, you know, there's only one great designer.
Yes.
And we know who that is.
Absolutely. Created it all.
Yeah. And so that, it's through everything I do. I look at it through that lens.
You know what? He created with a loving hand, and you create your design with a loving hand as well. Now more than ever, Joseph, we both know the world needs to be united. Yeah. Okay? What unites us rather than what tears us apart. Right. And the things that we're witnessing in this world, it's hard. There are no words for it. Yeah. And I think that, having done the news for so many years and reporting all the negativity, what I'm focusing on right now is talking to people like you who are good at what you do, successful at what you do, but you're a good person who wants to spend more time helping others in a positive way. I love that about
Well,
you.
thank you. And I think just the name of your show and what you do, Positively Ernie, says it all. We all know you.
Well,
we're not throwing bouquets here, but you are a legend, and we throw those words around. But your career and what you've done, and the strength and vitality, the way you do it now, is so impressive. It's so inspiring to me because I keep thinking, I'm not done. What's my next chapter?
Exactly.
I'm going to keep doing this until there's no more chapters.
Right.
But what's my next chapter?
So you talk about that for me, okay? Because you are a positive person, and you have things to do, and you're looking for the next event that can define you even more so, because it is a gift.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something. What do you think is good about America? What's good about our country?
Well, what I think about that, Ernie, is where could a kid from the south end of Boston who had a hard name to pronounce and most people didn't know what Lebanese was as a Lebanese kid.
I understand that.
How could I come to New York and create a fashion business only in America?
Only in America.
In all of the trials and tribulations that we've been through in America, this is still the greatest country in the world.
Absolutely.
And I just wish Americans could really grasp that. It's not about being a Republican or a Democrat or a Christian or a Jew. It's about we're American.
Yes.
And what it's provided to so many of us is incredible. No one gave us anything, but this country provided an opportunity for us to reach our potentials.
And Joseph, we both appreciate progress.
Oh, absolutely.
Very much so. But we also appreciate the past.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
honor it.
Yeah, of
and we
course.
were talking about that before and saying, there was a simpler time.
Yeah.
And a lot of things have changed, things that we really have no control over. But at this point in time, where we are today, let's just think about what we can do in terms of helping one another, kindness, civility. People say, what's happened to civility? I mean, why has that happened? But more importantly, where can we take it? We need good leadership here.
We do. Leadership is everything, and I think if we just sort of drill down to what makes us all Americans, and I mean all Americans, it's really our ability to do good, our ability for opportunity. Those are the things that there is no other country in the world that provides what America provides.
Absolutely.
In spite of all of its warts and its challenges, this is still
a great country.
And it's where guys like us were able to fulfill our dreams because the opportunity was there.
I'm going to ask you another question because I love going out on the street and asking questions.
Oh, I love when
my
you
question
do that.
of the day,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I ask people different things.
No, I love it.
Now, there was a poll recently where they were asking a lot of young people, teenagers, who is your hero? Who's your hero? Who do you admire? Who do you really respect? Do you know what the number one answer was from these young people?
No.
My parents.
Isn't that wonderful, though?
Yeah, it was a
Were you
great
surprised?
answer.
That's surprising because you would have thought it was some pop culture.
Exactly, pop culture, sports celebrities, whatever. But it was parents. And so, that is encouraging, and I'm sure to you as well, because I'm sure you would say the same thing. Your parents
They
were your
They
heroes.
were the inspiration, and they sacrificed for their 4 kids. I have 3 older sisters. They sacrificed for us. They put the money away so that the kids could have clothes for a new school year. They made sure there was food on the table. They invited our friends in for dinners and kids in the neighborhood. They were such a wonderful role model for me in how they treated people. And so that's what I try to impart to my kids.
I know you are. You're doing a great job at that. Another question, when I talk to a lot of people, I ask them, if you could speak to your younger self, if you could talk to yourself when you were 15 years old, 18 years old, 20 years old, if you could give, some of that wisdom now that you've acquired that to your younger self, what would you tell that young Joseph? What would you say to him?
There is one thing that's always stood out for me.
Yeah.
And that's been trusting my instincts. So as we get older, we have more experience. I learned that in my career, in my life, trusting my instincts about people, who are the good people, who are just selling you a bill of goods. And trusting my instincts has always done me well, and when I haven't, it's always a problem. So and I look back saying, I had no idea I would ever do this.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was going to be, what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think my career was very organic. I followed my love. I worked my way through college. I found that I loved style.
Yeah.
I found that I loved giving fashion advice to people. I
Sure.
loved the idea of making American men. This was very much part of my first collection. How do I make American men look more beautiful, more handsome? Why are we always the stepchildren to our European counterparts? Why can't American men have style and fashion? And that's where the old films came into play.
Sure.
With some of the glamour that we got through
Cary
the third.
Grant's and the rest of them.
You
I
know,
mean,
Cary
it's
Grant's
classic.
the icon, right?
Exactly.
And we still use those as fashion icons today. Laurence Olivier in the movie Rebecca, as he walks in, the first scene you see him in this double-breasted black tuxedo. You want to swoon because that's how
classy,
masculinely handsome and beautiful he was, and that's what I loved about.
I want to share a little secret with you. Yeah. Something that I have pursued in my life and thought about, and it's very simple. When I'm getting dressed, I think about something. Do I want compliments or apologies?
Oh, so interesting.
Let me explain that to you. If I'm getting dressed to go someplace, even if it's casual, I'll make sure that it looks good. Because if you go someplace and you look good, people will say, gee, you look great. I love that jacket. That's terrific. Or if you go someplace and you're underdressed, then you have to say, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize everybody was so dressed up here.
That's
so you always can be on the right side by dressing up and really looking good.
I maybe this is an exaggeration.
Go ahead.
I always say, you can never be overdressed, but you can always be underdressed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I really believe that. Guy walks into a restaurant and he's wearing a tuxedo.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody thinks, oh, he must be very important. But if you walk in with a T-shirt and jeans, they're going, how did they let him
But
in?
it's an image. But that's changed a lot, too.
Oh, it is.
A lot of people walking in there in their jeans and their
Let me give you an
sweatshirts.
example. Whenever I'm in London, and even if I'm just traveling by myself, and I want to go to the theater, I put on a jacket, maybe a turtleneck.
Yeah.
I get dressed up to go to the theater.
There you
because
go.
I feel like it's a special event.
Yeah.
I miss that in New York because it's shorts and flip-flops, and I get it. But I always felt when you have a special occasion, get dressed for it. Have fun
Joseph,
with it.
I get dressed up to take a flight.
But remember how people, that's so
Exactly.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I think, Ernie, when I saw you today, and you're so well dressed,
Thank you,
and
my
clothes fit you so beautifully. You've always been that way through
you.
all of your TV appearances. I think there's a guy who understands the propriety of dressing.
Yeah,
how
that's
to
important.
dress
Yeah.
in a professional way, and we need that not just to sell more clothes, but it is a sign of respect.
But it also makes you feel good. Right?
Right.
When you're dressed up, right? When you feel good about yourself, you even act differently. You perform differently.
I always say that the workman from Minneapolis, when he puts on a tuxedo, he becomes James Bond.
There you go.
That's
a good one.
It's
I like that.
something really, you throw your chest out, you feel better about yourself. The people around you appreciate you because it's a respect to them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot. And don't forget, Ernie, every single day, every person decides what they're going to put on that day. Whether it's the President of the United States or a congressman or a senator, they make a decision
It's
about
a choice.
a choice,
Yes.
and they're going to send a message.
Yeah.
Just as you were talking about apology or compliment.
Compliments.
Yeah.
You know, I love quotations, and I use them often.
Yeah.
I think it says a lot in a few words.
Of course. Yeah.
Now, there's one that I'm thinking about right now that applies to you, and I'm going to give it to you, and then I want you to react to it.
Okay.
Okay. Don't go where the path may lead. Right. Go where there's no path and leave a trail.
I love that.
Okay, now to me,
I love that, yeah.
That represents who you are because, you've stood out and said, you know what, I'm respecting, all these people that have done their work in the past. I know that. You're very respectful. But at the same time, you are Joseph Abboud, and our Creator has given you your gift, which is unique. That's why we only have our fingerprints, and you're unique. So tell me about that quote, okay?
Well, that is really touching in terms of what it means in terms for me. I remember when I started my very first Joseph Abboud collection.
Yeah.
And I remember the night before I launched the collection, I said to myself, why am I doing this? I left Ralph Lauren. I had the most wonderful job. I had a wonderful relationship with Ralph. What am I doing? And I had stage fright.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, nobody needs another collection. But I learned one thing. When we opened that first collection, we hit a nerve of something different, and it's about the story about your path. There was a traditional path of dressing for American men, and I thought there was a way to be more sensual, more appealing, not to be pseudo-European, but to be truly American.
Yes.
And we launched that collection, and we sold every major store in America. Barney's and Saks and Bergdorf Goodman's. We were the very first season out, we got a shop at Bergdorf Goodman's when there was only one Bergdorf Goodman, the women's store, not the men's store.
Amazing.
That was,
yeah, sure.
And Don Mello, who was a brilliant merchant, gave us a shop. And for a young designer to get a shop at Bergdorf's.
Is that great?
But it's because we struck a note, and we took a path that no one else had taken.
You were listening. You were listening to the voice.
It was
your voice.
It might have been, yes.
Your
no one
voice.
told me.
No, you heard yourself.
Well, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
But one real example of that I think you'll appreciate, everybody had navy blazers with gold buttons and very traditional blazers. Very. So I said to myself, if I come out with a navy blazer with gold buttons, it's going to be, why buy mine when you can go buy everybody else's? So I came out with a softer fabric, a newer silhouette. We used horn buttons as opposed to simple little things.
I remember that.
That changed the face of the navy blazer, and it caught on. And so maybe my timing was good. Maybe God patted me on the shoulder and led me in that direction. But those are the kinds of things I think that helped us start.
It's a classic example of don't go where the path goes.
I love
go
that
where there
quote.
is no path and leave a trail.
Yeah.
I've done so many interviews over the years. I mean, so many.
Oh,
Do you know that I've anchored over 20,000 broadcasts in New York alone?
I'm just honored to be here with you
I'm
today.
thinking about it. But you know what? I interviewed somebody who was very, very good. She was a social scientist, I believe, probably from Harvard. And we were talking one day about life. I'm on the air with her. And she said, people think that if they achieve 3 things in life, they're going to be happy. I said, really? Yeah. She said, the first thing is they want more. They want more of whatever it is. More money, more power, more fame. Just get me more of it. I said, okay. What's the next thing? She said, they want better. Let me make it better. I want to have a better house, a better car. I want to improve everything. Just make it better. And they achieve that. Then there's an evolution. They go to the last thing. I want to be different. I want to set myself apart from everybody. I want to be unique. I want to have something that nobody else has. I want to be me, just me. So they start off with more, better, and different. And they're still not satisfied. They're still not happy, except there's one thing that can change everything for them. Oh, I said, pray tell, what is that?
Yes.
She says, purpose. Find a person who has a sense of purpose in their life. They can try to achieve a lot of these different things with success. But if they believe in something, a genuine thing that they really are dedicated to and have passion for, that will make a happier person. You found your purpose, my friend.
I did.
Yeah.
And as I said to you earlier, you have to know your place in the universe. And you have to know what you're good at, what you can do. Be honest with yourself about that. Be positive as you are. Be positive about what you've done. You can't be all things to all people. Right. Make a stand and be who you are.
Yes.
And my purpose has always been is to fulfill myself, the creative side of myself, but to be able to bring to consumers or to customers an idea of bettering themselves. Yeah. It's a little bit of the Johnny Appleseed mindset. Just spread the word.
Yeah.
So that's always been important to me.
Before we go, share with me and with people who are watching and listening to us, share with America, what is in your heart, deep in your heart, at this stage of your life, to be able to say, I want to be able to accomplish this and I will feel more complete. Is there something there that you're looking for?
I think it's always about the next mountaintop. The next mountaintop isn't for anybody else, but it's for me. Whether this new collection that I do is for one person, it's really for me to continue what I've done, the creative process that really nurtures me. And I sort of look at, there's a contentment that I have with family and friends. I know who I am. I know who my friends are. The publicity, the cover of Women's Wear Daily, those things, they don't mean as much as when you're starting out. Because not to be arrogant or self-aggrandizing, but I've already done that. That's not important.
Right.
It's a different stage of life, but I feel so vital about doing new things that we continue to do them until we can't.
Yeah.
And I don't think about, well, I'm going to be X or I'm going to be Y, so I'll stop. I mean, I must say, you, Ernie, are an inspiration for what you've done.
Thank you, Joseph.
And I mean that. And please tell me that quote about age.
Yeah, that was a good one. You want to use it, and you can use it anywhere you want.
Please tell me that again.
I may age, but I'll never be old.
And that's my mantra.
So
thanks to you.
Think about this. Think about what that says. It
Yeah.
means that you have a youthful heart and spirit.
It's a vitality.
When you're a young person, you're always thinking about the future. You're dreaming. You're thinking about where you're going to go, what you're going to do. And I think that if you maintain that throughout your life, like what you and I are talking about right now, you can feel the energy.
Yeah, no.
Because we believe in something and we care about something. I often use Irma Bombeck's quote, and I love this one. She said, when I die and I go before my Creator, I'm going to say, I have nothing left. I used all the talent you gave me.
That's so wonderful.
And that's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing.
And I think that's the message to my children and hopefully their children is to fulfill yourself.
Yeah.
Do it in a spiritual way, do it in an honest way. And you and I have been very blessed.
Very much so.
We say lucky, but we've really been blessed.
Absolutely.
Grateful. To have successes in our respective careers. Yeah. And I'm just so honored and proud to be here.
I'm honored that you're here.
Yeah.
This is the great Joseph Abboud. I mean, what a wonderful human being, an amazing designer. And an author and a guy who has a lot of spirit.
Thanks.
And we love you for it, Joseph. And you're a terrific guy. I'm so thrilled that you came here today after all these wonderful years.
And I want you to know that this is what life is. They talk about the circle of life.
Yeah.
All those years ago, when I first met you and I was in awe, I'm still in awe.
Ah.
I want you to say I'm so proud
I love
to be
you,
here
man.
today, Ernie.
God bless you and your family.
you too.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching The Great Joseph Abboud. We'll see you next time.